Hey, it's Thomas. I'm back here with week three video of my series following my recovery of my Achilles injury, where I ruptured my Achilles on my left foot on April 17th playing basketball. I tell more about that story in the very first video, week zero of my recovery. So I just wanted to do a follow-up with you all, get you all up to date for those that are following this journey and are also experiencing this journey of recovery through this Achilles injury, where I'm trying to kind of help you understand what to expect, especially if this has just happened to you. Um, Everyone's journey is a little bit different. They're Everyone's reading different things, they're experiencing different things. I can just share from, what I've experienced over the last few weeks. So, I started physio this week, so that was a brand new thing. I am going to be doing physio, I think, twice a week for the next, what they said, about 4 to 6 weeks. So pretty extensive for now. And I'm pretty excited about it. Right? I felt like on my first visit, which is more of a consultation, but they actually do some work on my foot, that I felt just more confident with the process. Up until that point, right, I really did not know what to expect with the physio, and just the mobility of my foot. And I had some fears even around touching it. And, even during like when I was, getting like having my shower, my bath, like my wife is helping me. I explained that at my first one, right? Even her just touching the ankle, I was always just hesitant. She was too. But then when I went for this first physio, you should like they're just working in there they're doing some manual therapy, like just working along the tendon. Um, not full force, but just kind of like a lot more than I expected. So that was pretty cool to kind of just see, okay, I don't have to be super gentle with this, right? Like I was so delicate, and that's normal, I think. You're just scared of re-rupturing it, but you can't really re-rupture something that's been ruptured, right? So um the best piece of advice is just listen for pain, right? Like, or feel for pain, right? Like if the pain's too much, stop, right? For me, I haven't had much pain, really tenderness, maybe some tightness in that area. But that makes sense. It's healing. So when I went for the physio, what they did is they actually measured the angle of my plantar flexion. So they have this like ruler, and they basically see, my foot's kind of like this now, and but like about 20 degrees, something like this, right? And then basically they see how far you can bring it up, right? Until maybe it feels a little uncomfortable or there's too much stiffness, and that's just as far as you can get it. They don't want to like do it for you. You kind of do it with your own strength. So people should be on average able to, depending on your flexibility, but on average should be able to probably move around 80 degrees plantar flexion. Um, I'm sitting at like my neutral is around 20, and I moved it about another 20 degrees. So I got up to like 40 degrees, but I have about 20 degrees that I was able to move it. So I have a bit, more like a lot of work to do in that regard. And they also measured your like angle going like this as well. I don't remember what it was exactly, but they do those baseline measurements to see how much more mobility you have, how much more flexibility and strength that you're gaining, because they gauge that. And until you can do, um, certain angles or certain like angles, and then even hold it like isometrically, they're not going to start load bearing or do any type of strength training with load, or doing some like calf raises and all that stuff. They need to really test how much mobility you're getting back into that foot. So that was pretty interesting to see that, and give me some baselines and like targets and goals, right? It's good to have some goals in this process. I just feel more more confident, more motivated when we have that. They also they did laser therapy on the Achilles, which really is about loosening up the blood flow, increases blood flow, but loosens up the muscle around that area too, and increases the blood flow so it can help heal. Um, like the laser therapy, you don't feel it at all. So it's really non-invasive. They did some really like icing on it, laser, and they also on my calf, they did like electromagnetic therapy, which I guess pulses that area and loosens up the muscle and makes it less tender. Because if it's tight, that helps loosen it up, increase blood flow. And then she came in and did some like manual therapy on all my toes, my foot, my Achilles, and my calf muscle as well. So that was really nice. It really helped my calf like loosen up. I know in my last video I maybe have talked about like my other Achilles acting up, and I was really nervous about that, right? I have been terrified that my other Achilles is gonna go. But she kind of reassured me that, you've lost one Achilles, so this other one has to compensate. And it's like everything is compensating. Like this whole side of my body needs to take on more load and more weight. So that's probably why I'm feeling a little bit more um better about the whole thing, and like just acknowledging and I think in my head I kind of knew that this was compensating, but I just had so much fear around that Achilles going off. And then so I ended up ordering and I'm not affiliated with this company at all, but I ended up ordering did some research and I found this company called Kuru, Kuru, and they kind of market that they design shoes that are made for healthier feet, basically to help your feet. Basically give you really good arch support. They have this patented technology that kind of hugs the heel of your just hugs the heel in a certain way, and it actually adds cushion around your Achilles as well. And so they have a bunch of different designs. But I just wanted first to, like, I knew I wasn't going to do any sports, so I didn't want to get like a sporty shoe from them yet. I wanted to try out just kind of a walking shoe. I really like brown. These are really nice. Like, I've been wearing it on the other foot while I walk around the house, just to give my foot more structure and more support on the other side. Also gives me a little bit of elevation as well. Eventually, when I start maybe walking in the boot more without more weight bearing, I'll get a heel lift here on my shoe. You can buy it on Amazon. So these shoes are pretty good. I'm so far pretty happy. Been wearing it for a few days. Like working into the shoe was really easy. No pain. I can feel my arch, like my whole foot really being supported, and it's almost like having like an orthotic inside. So that's really cool. Sorry about my lighting. It's kind of flickering off and on. So that's pretty cool. Let me turn that off. But other than that, what was also really cool that the physio gave me was hip exercises. So I think I'm going to do a separate video to kind of show you all the exercises that they gave me and even some ankle mobility exercises. So let's start with the ankle mobility. I'm not going to show you in this video, but I'll just kind of describe with my hand. So basically, what you want to do about 4 times a day, this is basically what they gave me, is they want you to kind of lift your foot, like your foot's kind of like this, and do like kind of hold it maybe for 2 seconds at the top and then down about 2 seconds, and do about 20 reps of that 4 times a day, right? So this kind of almost heel pumps, ankle pumps, right? But not like, don't go super high to where you're like lengthening the Achilles, right? Just kind of keep it short, keep it in that range, and just start creating some mobility in the Achilles and the calf. And then they want you to do like kind of the side to side. So you're still kind of pointed down, but you're doing side to side. Okay. Again, you do about 20 of those, like 1, two, three. So it's not counting one, 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 two, three, four. So both sides have to hit to get one rep. And then you're doing kind of like toe curls and then expanding your toes. So you kind of imagine my fingers are my toes. You're going to curl your toes. And then as you come out, you try to expand them. So you do 20 of those. So I do that about 3 to 4. I try to aim for 4 times a day. And then you have your hip mobility exercises, which have been just kind of so good. I didn't know how tight I was in that hip, but it makes sense. Like you have no movement happening really a lot in this leg. So they gave me a series, I think, of 5 or 6 hip exercises that kind of hit all the angles. And some knee flexion as well, exercises, both lying prone on your stomach, and then you're kind of like lifting your foot leg like this. And then also like knee flexion, just sitting on the edge of a bed or a chair and just extending your knee out. And then just some hip exercises where like straight leg up and down on your side, straight leg. So I'm going to do a video kind of to show you all those because I don't think you need to really, you know, wait to start physio to do some of those things. I think a lot of it's in our head. Like we don't want to get out of this boot. But again, it's up to you, up to your doctor. If you want to wait for your physio, wait for your physio to give you instructions. But I'm following my protocol that I described where I'm in week 3 of 6, where we start hip mobility. We look at ankle mobility. We look at, moderate, about 20 to 25% weight bearing with the crutches. So you're like walking with the boot a little bit. You're taking steps with the crutches, about 25%. So I've been doing that. I was doing that in like week 2, actually, week 2 and maybe halfway through week 2. So, um, physio wasn't alarmed by that at all. So it was, my physio wasn't alarmed by that. So that was kind of cool. Just that kind of the idea that the quicker you can start mobilizing in safely without any pain, the better the outcomes typically that I've read in the research, but what my physio is telling me. So that's really cool. Um, I have my second appointment today, actually, so I'm really excited about that. We'll see what comes out of that. I suspect they'll do more measurements. Um, Probably not going to be that much change, but I'm going to be going on Tuesdays and Fridays, which gives me a bit of a break, gets me to do my homework in between, which is like my hip mobility, my ankle mobility. And I think that's really key. You got to stay on top of all that. So that's been the biggest change since the last video is the start of physio. Um, I am, mentally, where am I mentally? Um, I've noticed that there's been some days where I'm starting to feel sorry for myself. I don't know if that's part of the process, but it's just, I think being in this boot and, my kid told me last night that he misses playing with me. And that's hard to hear as a dad, especially with younger kids, or even if you have older kids. One of my things for me is I love to be present for my kids as much as I can, and being a dad is my favorite thing in the world. And it's been tough to not be the same dad for them that they've known. Um, so the closest that you can get to making things normal for your children during this time, um, I highly recommend you try. That's why the knee scooter really helps me cook dinner. They always like to bake with me, so I bake a lot with them. Um, I still bathe them. So I usually give them the bath. So I try to keep that normal. It's challenging, but I managed to do that and go through that with them. So that's been pretty the biggest challenge for me is, working, making sure my kids feel like their dad is not so different and helping them understand what this all means and talking through it with them and too. Um, but life doesn't stop, right? Like I have a full-time job, I'm working, work has been stressful. And you know, when you leave work and you carry that stress plus you're feeling, you know, that you can't do anything, you can't really move that much. It just starts to compound. So I think like having different outlets for yourself, whether that be reading or even if you want to watch a little TV, decompress or do some breathing exercises. I've been doing a lot of that. Um, and exercise, that's another thing for me. I still do upper body work. I have my assault bike where, I don't have to pedal. I can just move my hands. So, and almost do like a rowing action. So doing that, getting that blood flow, getting that dopamine hit, like it just releases endorphins. It makes you feel a little bit better. Any outlet that you can find during this period, because things do compound, and this doesn't make it easier, right? The boot is the boot. And this is a slow process, and you don't want to rush it. You want to protect it. You want to stay as safe. And yeah, things compound. You got to be aware of that. And I've painfully been aware of that over the last few days. And my mental health around that, right? And talk to people, right? Talk about how you're feeling. Um, you can share in the comments with me if you want. We can talk it out. I think I think that's where I am right now. I'm just realizing how things are compounding for me and being elevated and figuring out how to navigate um, through that, right? I'm also a social person, so being stuck at home and not being able to get outside very often, you get a little stir crazy at home. So even just getting outside, sitting outside, it does help. And coffee helps. Um, that's where I'm at right now. You know, I hope that me talking through these things is helping people realize, what to expect from the process. Maybe even what questions to ask your therapist or your physiotherapist or ask your surgeon. And I hope that this is helping someone. Um, it is, any injury is a challenging thing, especially if you have to go through it alone. I just want you to know that you're not alone. Like someone, you can reach out to me. Happy to have a chat and talk. And I hope these videos are helping. But I'll come back at week 4, give you guys all an update how things are going. In between this video and week 4, I'll try my best to do maybe like a movement video to kind of show you some of the exercises. I think that would be pretty cool. But for now, I wish you well in your recovery and stay safe, and we'll talk next.